Right now, I am the highest person on Earth.
She can be a lady or she can be a dragon.
We can map the entirety of Iraq in one mission.
When you get up there, it's one world.
Imagine strapping yourself into a single pilot aircraft, putting on a spacesuit with a fishbowl on your head and ski mittens on your hands.
This is one of those moments that really could make or break you.
1,000 pilots, way more Super Bowl rings out there. You're in a small club.
And you can see the very gentle curve of the Earth from here. It's an extraordinary view.
I'm Michael Phillips, a reporter for the Wall Street Journal. This is California's Beale Air Force Base, home to the nation's fleet of U-2 spy planes and pilots.
How much sleep did you get last night? 6 to 8?
Yes.
Okay.
Good answer.
Today was my chance to take a ride above 70,000 feet to the edge of space. I guess I've always had something like this in mind.
So if we have an emergency, stay calm. I'll talk you through it.
This is Jethro, my U-2 pilot. And that's Sharky, his on-the-ground wingman. More about him later.
So you may see fog in the cockpit depending on how the temperature controller is set. It's not a big deal unless it obscures the instruments. So there's not a lot you can do to help out because I've got most of the controls up there.
It's kind of odd. Why in an age of smartphones and smart bombs is the U.S. Air Force still using planes that were designed in the Eisenhower administration?
To a stunned and startled audience, Khrushchev announced that an American U-2 spy plane had been shot down in the Soviet Union.
He displayed photographs, which he said were taken from the captured U-2, and announced that the pilot was alive and had confessed.
The downing of Francis Gary Powers' U-2 sparked an international incident at a moment when the world always seemed one mistake away from nuclear war.
The first half of the program was all CIA. And so there's some parts of that that are in popular history and well-known, many movies and stories written on that, but many pieces that were classified and withheld from history.
In 2013, declassified documents revealed what many had already suspected. Area 51, the military's legendary and secretive test site, was where the U-2 was developed and its first flights flown. Today, much of the U-2's onboard technology remains secret, but its wet film camera and the photos that camera takes have been declassified. Good morning. How are you guys? Traditionally, the Air Force has been reluctant to share even those declassified photos with the public. But shortly after we arrived at Beale, we were told that we had been granted access to the photo development process.
Let's do this thing. How old are you?
I'm 22.
So you never really were an adult during the time of film cameras, were you?
No, definitely not.
Can you just explain to me, so the film that comes out of the plane looks more or less like this?
Yes.
Can I try it?
Sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
So we assemble this.
Moment, please. So tell me about the size of the film and then sort of how you check it as it goes by.
So it's about 6 inches long, and as it's going by the 10,500 feet of film, I kind of sit it on my hands, and it goes across, and I'm sort of feeling the edges for rips and tears.
So these negatives are from Iraq. Tell me, did they take pictures of the entirety of Iraq from one U-2 plane?
Yes, so we can map the entirety of Iraq in one mission.
So one pilot goes up in one U-2 for 12 hours with one old-fashioned 1950s camera.
Yes.
And what comes back is a 250-pound roll of film with every square inch of Iraq on it.
Yes.
Does seem kind of old-fashioned, doesn't it?
But it works, and that's why it's still around.
Film that U-2s shoot over Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria on missions anywhere in the world is shipped back to Beale to be developed.
They're going to have a list of things they want us to find. And there's a number of different tools back here that you can use. One of them is called the loop, and if you want to go ahead and take a look through that, you can just lay it right on the film and look around.
So I'm looking at an airfield. I can see, look like C-130 airplanes parked on the tarmac and a big jet transport of some sort.
So we have more than just the loop. We have the actual optics. This is going to be your real zoom. This is what you're going to be able to get an in-depth look at what's on the ground there. Go ahead and look with one of your eyes and tell me what you see now.
That looks like a C-5, a giant 4-engine transport jet parked on the runway.
And how about the what's written on the wing there?
And I can see on the wing the markings USAF for U.S. Air Force. So you do get a very crisp image of something that is, well, 70,000 feet away. It's quite impressive.
Another interesting thing, so we've got one fuel tank that sits just in front of the engine. The wing tanks feed that. So they'll fill up the outboards full and then just see which way the aircraft leans. And if it leans to the right, we go, well, the right wing's a little heavy, and we transfer fuel to the left until it's balanced. So it's really kind of an art, not a science.
The rule of thumb is that every pound cut from the plane's weight adds another foot of altitude. Today's U-2s are constructed from slightly lighter material and have a 30% larger frame than the original aircraft. And though they are very similar to the 60-year-old design, there's nothing old about these planes, inside or out.
Every 6 years, they'll send them down to Palmdale, to the plant out there. Lockheed will take the jet completely apart, actually pull the wings off of the aircraft, take the paint off, take the engine out, completely strip the cockpit, and then they will go through every wire, every connector, every panel. They'll x-ray it, NDI, make sure there's no cracks, replace anything that's broken, put it back together, new coat of paint, and it looks like a brand new airplane again. And it flies like a brand new airplane again.
So I understand there's a tradition that before you fly, you pat its nose?
Pat the nose of the jet. The crew chiefs will usually salute you, shake all their hands, fist bump the mobile.
Is that what happens with any kind of airplane? Do people have this ritual when they get on board?
From what I understand, it's a U-2 tradition. I've got crew chiefs, I've got electricians, I've got different civilians for each of the sensors that are helping us keep that started. So there may be 40 people around the aircraft who are all there just to get you in the air, which is awesome. So
Right.
It's really a teamwork thing. We don't call it a takeoff, we call it a launch.
It does feel like a launch. The U-2 flies above 70,000 feet, twice the altitude of a commercial airliner. There's a small army involved in getting the pilot suited up and the plane off the ground. And a U-2 flight is risky.
What makes it difficult to fly?
So the big thing that makes it difficult to fly is the landing gear. We have bicycle landing gear.
I can say with absolute certainty and conviction that despite the fact that so many U-2 pilots fly the U-2 very well and very effectively, no one's ever flown a perfect mission. And there's always room to learn how to fly this jet better. Some days the aircraft treats you well, and some days it gives you a hard day.
The U-2 isn't for everyone. The reconnaissance wing only accepts volunteers, pilots who have already logged hundreds of hours flying fighters or other jets. And many of them flame out in the first week when they experience the claustrophobic feeling you get when the technician snaps the visor shut and seals you into a spacesuit.
Hey, welcome, sir.
Thank you. So tell me, what is this room?
So this is what we call our heritage room.
So show me some of the sort of historic memorabilia you have here. Let's start with these pictures.
These are some of the pilots that have passed away while flying the U-2. We know that what brought them to that point, how they both lived and ultimately sacrificed for not only our community and our program, but for the nation. We always want to keep the guys who paved the way for us in our prayers and thoughts.
I understand that you were friends with the most recent pilot to pass. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, absolutely. Shooter Eady, he was a good friend of mine. He was somebody that everyone in this building would know. He was a well-respected instructor, aviator, and more importantly, he had an awesome family that he was very proud of. In a sense, with him and all these guys that you see walking around as a U-2 pilot has, for lack of a better term, rushed our program and asked to be a part of this process.
All right.
Hop in?
So go ahead and hop in.
So I'm in a training cockpit for the U-2, and the purpose of being in here is to learn how to get out of the U-2 in an emergency.
So if we have an issue where we need to eject, and I'll say, all right, it's time to eject, bail out, bail out, bail out. So you go and pull your feet back.
Right. And it has pulled my feet in like this.
Pull your feet in like that.
So there are ejection mechanisms in here. One's a big handle in front of me between my legs that I have to pull up at about 60 pounds of pressure. There's another one in case that one doesn't work by the side.
So you're going to reach down to your left-hand side, way down, that handle down there.
pull.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, though, then we have to do what's called a manual bailout, which is the worst possible scenario. In that case, I have to blow the canopy top, it goes flying off, and then I actually have to climb out of the plane. Nobody seems to be able to give me the actual directions for what happens then, but I think I just jump into the air and hope for the best.
Oh, like that? Just pull it back? Okay.
A lot of the technology that makes newer aircraft easier and safer to fly either didn't exist back when the U-2 was designed, or was removed to make the plane lighter and fly higher.
When it was built, it was designed to be a truck to carry 5,000 pounds of payload up to maximum altitude.
Generally speaking, the 5,000 pounds is not weapons. It is some sort of sensors,
we
cameras.
Have no weapons whatsoever.
Just for snooping.
Reconnaissance only.
The Beale Control Tower monitors a constant stream of U-2s taking off and landing. When pilots aren't in the air, they might be manning the tower for their comrades.
Every single time you fly the Dragon Lady, there's something new, there's something unique, and it challenges every bit of your aviation knowledge. I'm Nova, I'm a pilot here in the U-2 squadron. When you get up there and you think, like, what makes these people different from these people? And you just don't see it from up there. It's one world. There's one planet.
So here's one taking off right now. What's that pilot going through right now as he's just about to take off?
So right now, releasing the brakes, just throwing it up to full power, which is awesome. You know, as soon as you throw the power up, you're pushing 18,000 pounds of thrust out of the back end. You have those big, long wings, and it just wants to accelerate so fast, you got to pull it up to about 40 degrees nose high just to keep the airplane within limits. And that is, you know, just one of the coolest feelings ever. And when you kind of get the chance to look and just see the Earth just falling way behind you so quickly, like, it's awesome.
So does that ever get old?
Absolutely not. Every single time I get up there, it's indescribable.
U-2 pilots need to be prepared for an emergency anywhere, especially one at the edge of space. This suit, the helmet, and the gloves will keep my temperature and pressure regulated if something goes wrong at a deadly altitude. If the cockpit lost pressure at 70,000 feet and I weren't wearing a spacesuit, my blood would boil. Seriously, it would boil.
I wish we could give you a suit, but this will be a little memento you can take with you. Have a great flight. You guys are going to have a lot of fun. It's a beautiful day out there. And then it's always sealed with a fist bump.
Every time a pilot straps into the cockpit of a U-2 plane, his wingman buckles into a chase car on the ground. Remember Sharky? Right now, his job is to be the second set of eyes and ears for his fellow pilot on the plane, helping troubleshoot and make sure everything goes smoothly, especially during takeoff and landing.
I've flown for quite a long time in the U-2, and I will say that sometimes it's very painful to fly, but no matter how painful the sortie was, how long the sortie is, just as soon as you see that aircraft take off, you just want to be there.
Walking out onto the tarmac is a total John Glenn moment. An airman carries my oxygen, each breath in the helmet is work, and I already have the sense of being cut off from the world. It takes a team of technicians to strap me in and hook me up to all my different regulators and radios.
Clear for takeoff. I've given the final thumbs up, salute off.
09, clear for takeoff.
And away we go.
All right, here we go. All right. fine.
What a place to work every day.
Yeah, it's definitely fun.
I sound like Darth Vader because I'm breathing pure oxygen sucked into the helmet. The air pressure inside the cockpit is equivalent to standing on top of Mount Everest. Without the oxygen, I'd be gasping for breath, and I'd be in danger of getting the bends.
You know what that lake is to our right? And then at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock? It's like a reservoir maybe, or a...
That is Lake Tahoe.
Oh, really?
Yep. That's one of the advantages of high altitude ISR. When we're up above 60,000 feet, the max range we can see is about 270 nautical miles due to the curvature of the air.
In each direction?
In each direction, yes.
So you've got almost 500 miles of view in one flight?
Yes.
Not much traffic up here.
No, it's super quiet. A lot of times when we get up to altitude, you'll be able to look down and see the airliners. It's peaceful up here though, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic. There are people in the International Space Station who are higher, but on Earth there's nobody above 70,000. No plane can fly this high, no mountain reaches this high, and from here I can see an amazing view of the entire area around San Francisco below me.
A lot of the attributes that make the U-2 such an incredible glider at high altitudes also make it one of the most difficult aircraft to land. In addition to the U-2s, Beale has a fleet of muscle cars. Chase car drivers have to hit the gas and catch up to each plane as it approaches the runway, giving the pilot a foot-by-foot countdown to landing.
I'm not gonna lie to you, that was an unbelievable experience. The takeoff is like a rocket ship, and then you really quickly get to altitude to a point where you can see 500 miles around you, the mountains, the cities, just amazing. You can see so much.
Yeah! Make it on the roof of that building.
How much do these suits cost again?
U-2 pilots are a different breed. They fly a quirky old spy plane to the edge of space, the highest person on Earth every time they go to work. No wingman, nobody to help them if something goes wrong, no way to fight back over enemy territory. It's a life they sum up in their motto: alone, unarmed, unafraid.